High School Canadian Cougars, my name is Mr. Robbins. I'm here to intro the lesson you're doing in Cougar Den. You're going to be learning about a guy named Rick Rescorla. He was the security officer for Morgan Stanley in the South Tower of the World Trade Center buildings on 9/11. Basically, his job was to make sure all the employees knew the safety procedures and so on for how to get out of the building. He ran drill after drill, and the employees didn't really like him that much for it, but on 9/11, he was able to get almost every single Morgan Stanley employee out of the towers. When he went back in to check and make sure everybody was out is when the building collapsed and he was killed in his efforts to save all those people on 9/11. He's also a Vietnam veteran who survived the battle in the Ai Drang Valley and was rescued by a recipient of the Medal of Honor. So today, as you learn about Rick Rescorla, he is also a recipient of what's called the Citizens Honors Award for his work on 9/11. So hopefully you enjoy learning about him and the sacrifice he made to save hundreds of people on 9/11.
An explosion underground in the garage section of the World Trade Center in New York City has killed now 3 people, according to the New York Port Authority. Hundreds of people are still being evacuated from the twin-story towers of the structure.
Rick Rescorla was head of security with Morgan Stanley. Dean Witter. So in '93, Rick was very instrumental in getting people out. I mean, he took personal command of it, and there was really no one else to make these decisions. Rick did it.
Rick was on scene and didn't sleep, I think, for 2 or 3 days after that bombing.
After '93, Rick became so vigilant, making sure we all knew how to get out of the building. We had fire drills twice a month. We had to do the full walking down the steps. At that time, I could go downstairs with my eyes closed and know where I was going.
He would say that in times of crisis, men don't rise to the occasion. They default to their training. So he knew what training meant.
Things will come home to roost of cavalier actions that we're taking now out there. When you're talking about the future wars, we're talking about engaging in Los Angeles. We're talking about terrorist actions. We're not going to be toe-to-toeing on a battlefield. And in the future, we're going to see some action that we've never seen before.
We have not been able to see what, if any kind of an aircraft is inside the building, the entire side of this tower right now.
It looked like an inverse snowstorm. Sheets of paper were going up instead of down, and they were on fire. It did not make sense.
Suddenly, I get the call from Rick. From the moment it happened, Rick knew that it was a terrorist attack. I of course, was just crying, and he said to me very calmly, he said to me, "Stop crying. I have to get everyone out."
There was an announcement that a plane had hit building number 1. There was no danger to building number 2. As soon as the plane hit building number 1, Rick started the evacuation. He didn't wait for orders from the Port Authority or anybody else.
I knew where to go just by rote. I went straight to the exit, and Rick was on the other side at that time.
I called his wife and told her, Rick's been in tight spots before, he'll get out. While I'm talking to her, that second plane made that big turn. Wacko! Hit South Tower, Rick's building.
When the impact happened, I was blown out of my shoes and I hit the marble wall where Rick was standing, and Rick and I both were knocked to the floor. At all times, even on the floor, I was within inches of Rick. He was on that bullhorn in the pitch black, reassuring people that the lights would come on, just stay calm, don't panic.
No one knew what was going on. We were just walking, and then I saw Rick. And when I saw Rick, it was like, oh, there's Rick. Okay, so this is good. It's a good thing. Rick wasn't smiling, and Rick always smiled, but he had the bullhorn, and he was saying, we're good Americans. Walk down slowly. Be good Americans.
The phone rings again, it's Rick. And I said, where'd that thing hit? He said, above me.
And it was very difficult getting to the stairwell. We had to avoid fires. Well, we finally got to the stairwell. There were 4 of us, and we were among the last people coming down. Here's Rick in the stairwell. I said, Rick, you've got to get out of here also. He said, oh, John, I will. He said, I just want to make sure we got everybody out.
Everyone who knew him knew he'd gone back up. You know, you leave no man behind.
He called back and said, call Susan again. And I called her and was talking to her, and the South Tower come down.
I just watched in amazement as the South Tower came down, and it was all over. And of course, I was just screaming and crying. I thought, oh, please, God, please let me just... maybe this miracle can happen and he can come back.
He could not have lived with himself unless he was the last man out of that building, unless he was absolutely convinced that everybody else was dead and there was nobody else he could save.
I know he did what he did. He had to do it. Died the way he lived, a courageous man who was always looking out for the other man and responsible, and who was a man of courage. And so now I can say, you know, I am so proud. I am so proud.
Congressional Medal of Honor Society of the United States of America, on behalf of the recipients of the Medal of Honor, recognize Rick Rescorla as the recipient of 2009 Above and Beyond Citizens Honors.
I think he would have been particularly proud to receive the Citizens Award from the Medal of Honor recipients. These are his fellow soldiers and men who would be at the top of his list to admire. So an award from them, that would have really moved him.
He admired that medal very much. The hero of this nation's greatest heroes. What the hell better can you get? There is no better accolade.
I think he would have been very proud, but he wouldn't have ballyhooed it. You know, that wasn't why he did it. A great guy. Great guy. He's missed.